Where art meets enterprise, stories come alive. We are honored to sit down and speak to the man behind the creative genius of Illusions Painting. My guest is a well-equipped businessman, visionary, and leader. He brings a valuable narrative on resilience, innovation, delegating, customer service, self-belief, and building generational wealth. This is more than just painting walls. It's about painting a legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Juan Vasquez.
My brother, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
So we were just talking off air that we pretty much had a podcast before we got on air.
Let me tell you, what was it like? 50 minutes, almost 50 minutes. And actually, you know what? We touched on some cool stuff, man.
We did. What was probably the one thing that hit you right away? Especially with your nephew. He impressed me so much.
So, you know what? I think the energy you brought into here, it was just like, it's contagious.
Yeah.
You know? And you talking to Kevin here for a couple minutes and having the second generations, the younger guys, how much energy. I was like, whoa,
yeah.
I like this.
Yeah.
And you bring this energy. You got me hyped up, man. I'm like, so, you said, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm nervous. I'm like, no, I'm nervous now, okay? You got me nervous. I'm like, can I keep up with this energy? I think I can. I'm going to try it.
No, you're good, my brother. But it's so crazy, my man, because it's very rare when we bump into people like that, my man. You know what I mean? But I feel like we do, though. I feel like the type of people that we are, it's like we attract those kind of people I feel like on a constant basis. And I feel like when we recognize that people who are not aligned with our principles and what we follow, it's easy to just kind of like show respect,
That's right.
but not interact and, oh my God, come into my life and deteriorate my life. You know what I mean? We got to be kind of mindful with that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even in business, brother, because when you're not in business, when you're saying in a relationships, when you're in friendships, there's a lot of betrayal involved. You know what I mean? And even business too, I feel like there's a lot of like even bringing in the right people that we were just talking about off air. When you're so worried about not having betrayal, not having people deteriorate what you got going to ruin your whole vision, what kind of principles that you look for in a person to make sure that they are just going to enhance your business?
What do I look for? I like similar people, to me. I like character. And so I believe that if you can have someone and be yourself around, then that's the right person.
Yeah.
Why? Because we just have all this energy and we just met, but I feel that I can talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you meet a lot of people within the professional life or the personal life that are not like that. You'll have a very short conversation. They'll probably get to the point, and then you're like, oh, it's cool. I like him. It's cool. But then you're not like laughing like this for like 30 minutes. You're like, damn, I like this. And then it just keeps repeating and repeating.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what you find. You find those connections. I'm looking for that connection.
Yes.
I think that in business, what I've been learning is to surround yourself with a great team. Okay. And what we want, I want someone that is better than me.
Yeah.
Better than me, because I want that person. That person is going to be the extension of myself.
Yeah.
You know what? And so, but at the same time, character is big, because let's say you know it all, but your character is poor. I don't want that. Right? Yes. I don't want that. And so I can teach you how to do something, but I cannot teach you character. I cannot teach you how to be a good human being. And so, at least a good human being to my standards. Yeah. Because everybody's standards are different. So, so that's what I look in a person. Yeah. And I think that really helps you grow.
Yeah.
So,
and it even like going back to the whole being near people who are simply better than you. That's why it's such a privilege for me to be sitting here with you, because I can proudly say as a 28-year-old man that you are better than me. And that is why I am here to learn from you and for you to pass on lessons and tactics to all these young generation entrepreneurs coming up, my man, because the value that you have to give to these people, and just from the small amount of interaction that we had off air, man, if that was documented, if we had wires or anything on us, man, that would be insane.
Man.
We should have. You know what? Next time,
you got to do that.
No, I need to. That just shows you I got to step it up.
Exactly, because sometimes you get these just natural reactions, you know, and you know, when the camera is rolling, it's a different story. You know, we kind of get a little shy.
Yeah.
But when it's 2 people, 3 people just having this conversation, it just changes things, you know. We attend quite a bit of events, and a lot of these events, like you go through the day, the educational part, you sit down with people and learn, and you learn from them.
Yeah.
But I've really realized that when we have these social events after, the little gatherings, when we actually just open up and we put our guards down, I think I've come up with some of the best knowledge in my life at that time. Because now it's just 2 people just being themselves, sharing whatever it is. There is no restraints, there's no walls. It's like just, you know, it's just me and you, or just a group. And I think that's so unique when you find the group alike, someone that is alike like you.
Yeah.
You know, so that helps a lot. It helps a lot in business, but we have to go look for that.
Yes.
It doesn't come to us.
No.
You know, it's not gonna come to us at the bar or something. Well, I mean, at some bars, don't get me wrong, but I've had some good, interesting talks at a bar, but you know what I mean?
So I really want to obviously dig down into the whole business, your lessons, your tactics, but what I want to do first is go before. What was life like before business?
Okay, so I've been painting for, my business is painting. I've been painting since I was 16 years old. So it came out of necessity. I was gonna have a child. I'm a baby boy is 25 now.
Damn.
So yeah, you know, I needed a job, and it was painting. I worked for a couple companies. I worked for a company that did commercial, and we traveled to different states. Yeah. And it was just, I didn't really like the job. Yeah. What it entailed. But then I moved to another company where I did a lot of high-end homes, and repainted all these fancy homes, and I really liked it. Yeah. So I think I've always had the mind of the entrepreneurship mind, like I can do this more, you know, like you can feel it, you can sense it, you know, but you don't know how, you know. And so I've owned, like I said, I painted for about 8 years total. Then, you know, I was brought to this country when I was 12 years old. So I was an immigrant. I don't have a lot of background with school. I got 4 years of official school here in the United States. So
shout out to you.
You know, I didn't look at it before. You know, before I really thought I was just some loser that had no future. You know, and I really thought that for a long time. Yeah. But then I guess as I got a little older, and I started seeing, like, you know, maybe okay, let me rephrase this. So there's one thing that I keep saying. I didn't want to be 60 and still pushing a brush. It was like, I always had that idea in the back of me, but I didn't know what to do with it. Yeah. You know how when you have those and you're like, there's gotta be more, you know, there's more, but you don't know how, you don't know where. And so I worked that. I have a son that's 25 years old, and I have a daughter that's 15. Yeah. So, you know, I was busy with kids, family. So it's always been, it's always like doing something more. So resources were limited. So back in 2007, I started the company. So I've been with the company for quite some time. Yeah. You know,
a long time, brother.
But the thing about it is, like, I had a company that I ran for about 10 years. For those 10 years, really, it was just like staying busy. I had a job. I didn't have a company, you know, or a business. I had a job, and I didn't know the difference. Yeah. See?
What would you tell the audience, like, what is the difference between a job and a business?
Okay.
In your experience.
Big difference. So a job is something that owns you, that you have to be there in order for it to work. You know, when you have a business, the business is supposed to take care of you. The business is supposed to allow you to do as you please. You do work for that business, but it gives you that freedom in return. And when you have a job, there's nothing in return, or nothing at all. Yes. So I think that's the big difference.
Yeah. And it's funny too, my man, because you can tell when somebody's face, I feel like, you know what I mean? When somebody is stressed, you can tell.
Yeah.
When somebody is happy, you can tell.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So when I first met you, I mean, this is the first day we're actually meeting
that's
today.
right,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's pretty crazy. And right away, there's like a glow to you because for one thing, what you're building and like your purpose and your meaning, that's what brings out happiness. You know what I mean? It's what kind of gives you that like extra boost of like, oh man, like I'm doing what I get to do every single day and I'm with the right people. So it just makes everything better. It's like a big cherry on top. You know what I mean?
Man, I gotta tell you, it's so true. So when you have a job and you might be making a lot of money, but you're painting and you're doing the things that you don't like to do,
Yeah.
it's a job.
Yes.
That's the job.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't painted in quite some time. So the day that I actually paint is because I choose to paint. That gives me that's that freedom, and that's that it's the fulfillment that you feel. So doing this podcast, meeting great people, I think that's to me, that's the cherry on top.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. So maybe I don't realize internally because we're so worried about doing so much more, right?
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I'm actually doing the things that one day I wanted to do. I'm living my 5-10 years ago. Actually, I'm living more than what I ever thought I was going to achieve. So yeah, you know, now that you put it in perspective, it's very true, man.
Did you ever get like the rolling of the eyes when you were telling people that, oh, I have a painting business? Did you get any of those?
What do you mean that when you have
Like pretty much when people are like, oh, like, because you know when people, like we were just talking off air how everybody thinks business is sexy.
Yes.
But sometimes we were saying, like vending machines, there are a lot of people out there who are making multi-millions just from vending machines. That's not a sexy business, but it's taking care of your lifestyle, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's crazy when people think like you have a business, they expect the crazy big building, the fancy cars, the this, the that. But I feel like we're very old school in that way, where we don't really care about that stuff. Like we were saying, we care about generational wealth. We don't care about short-term, cheap dopamine hits that do nothing for us. Because it's good. It's like fun time. You know, I call it like a one-night stand.
There
you know what I mean?
go.
It's fun
Sugar rush.
it's fun. Yes, it's fun for a night. But what about the next day?
Very true.
Exactly, right? So did you ever get people who obviously doubted you? And did that kind of like push you even more to kind of like, okay, we'll see?
You get those all the time, man.
Yeah.
And I think when you're determined and when you want to do more things, you get them even more because you're going to be racing that line very often.
Yeah.
And we were just having this conversation out there too, just how when we first started, you know, like getting into social media and doing more like just recording what we're doing, our day-to-day whatever that we're doing, right? Our creating our stories. People will look at us and then like tell us like, oh, like what are you doing? Like you look weird, you know? And so well, basically we're like, you question yourself and you're like, am I doing something? Am I doing something wrong? Or like what's going on, you know? But you don't realize that if you set out to do something, you got to stick to it. And once you stick to it and you do it, it takes you to the next level. We have people who want to start a podcast, and I hear it all the time. You know, we started our own, and it's not anything like this, right? But you know what? There's so much out there where they're like, oh, I want to do it. I have the idea. I know how to do it. And they describe it to you just perfectly.
They never take everything.
But they never take that step. You got to take the step. They're going to look at you funny every time, yes, sir. They're going to look at you because you're not with everybody else. You're you're getting out of the line and moving somewhere else. They're going to look at you weird.
Yeah.
It's just right? I mean, it works like that.
Yeah, even like for me, like when somebody, like people ask me problems when it comes to a podcast, right? I feel like when you have a problem to solve and you have the answer to it, it's profit, you know? You're helping people at the end of the day as well. So when somebody asks me for help and I help them, but it was funny because I helped an individual out with 4 podcasts, right? I helped it. So that's a month's worth of content, right? When I showed the person how to edit, they freaked out and they quit.
All the work behind it.
all the, like, this is easy. The talking stuff is easy. It's when you turn off the cameras, when you close the computer, when you go home and you're on your desktop and your monitors, that's where the real work comes. But when that intimidates people, you're not meant for it. And we were talking about that off air too, how not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur.
That is very true.
And did that kind of like separate yourself in a way? Because you know, like we were talking about having the right people around. Did you ever have people come into your life to try to push you away to the other side?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, plenty.
It's still to this day.
You know what happens? It's like every time you want to, like I said, you walk outside that line, there's always going to be people like, no, why are you doing that? Like, that's not the right way to do it. Or like, it's the stressful way, because you're going to get into every single bump. And if they're like, look, if you keep following this little path, then we're all good. You get your little check. And then, you know, you're going to be okay. Well, guess what? You know, I'll bump here and then I'll run and then I'll fall again. And then you just keep going. So, you know, looking back, I think I've always had this mindset, because we do have it. You know, some people aren't meant to, you know, be a 9 to 5 because that's how they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's 100% okay with that. You know, at the end of the day, what makes us happy? So if it makes me happy to be stressed every day because I'm starting a new business, that's my happiness.
Yes.
People might look at it, you crazy.
Yeah.
I might be crazy, but crazy's happiness for me.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So if you being at home and working 3 hours out of the day and living at the minimum pace, that's happiness for you, then that's happiness for you.
Yes.
I cannot compare to that, you know? And so when I was growing up and when I was actually painting, I actually had the idea of like, you know, I never really was the guy that learned. I know how to do everything in the painting, but I wasn't so stressed out about like, how can I do it? I was like, okay, how can I alleviate this? How can I have someone to help me here? How can I do all these things?
Yes.
And I used to hear from people, they're like, oh, you're lazy. You don't want to do it yourself. I was like, and at that point, I thought like, God, am I lazy? And then I was like, I don't think I'm lazy. But, you know, now I realize that I believe in building a team. I believe in having, I'm not the center of everything. You know, I have the ideas. So back in those days, to me, it was like I was an asset to my boss, because he would say, look, your job is to run this job. He was like, I don't want you to paint. I don't want you to do anything else. I want to make sure that this runs smooth. That was my job.
Yeah.
So I was able to coordinate this person, that person, and move them, you know, like a game of chess. You know, you move your pieces around, checkmate. And so because of that, I feel that I always needed to evolve. I cannot stay in the same place. It's costing me a lot of grief, don't get me wrong, because you know, we get so into something and all of a sudden like, hey, we conquer it. Okay, what's next now? You know, and it can be tough sometimes, right? Because there's the next mountain is higher than the one you just climbed.
Yes.
And so when you relate that to business, you gotta have that soul. Like, you have to be stronger than your average people.
Yeah. So did your former boss teach you these tactics and lessons, or was it just by experience? Did you have any mentors along the way that kind of gave you this skill, or did you just apply it to your life and it was just through experience?
I think a lot of it was just experience. You know, I spent I spent a lot of time in my younger years with my grandfather in Mexico. And he was the man that, like, he came from nothing, and he built very good wealth for his family, and he was a businessman, you know. And in my younger years, you know, probably since I was born till I was 12, I was his, you know, first grandkid, and I was everything for him. So I think that a lot I've learned from him. I've learned to respect how he was and just how he was, and I've always had that in the back of my mind.
Yes.
With my old boss is a lot different than me. He is the type of guy that he's an awesome guy. To this day, you know, we share knowledge, we share guys or whatever we need to share. But he's more of like the wheel's round. We don't need to change it. I'm more of like, okay, if he's round, how can I make it more efficient? How can I make it run faster?
Yes.
That's the type of guy I am.
Yes.
I've learned, I think we all learn. If we really set out to learn, we can go into any place, any situation, and we'll learn something from it. we either learn how to do it or what not to do.
Yeah.
So that the learning, I think, it just has to come from you, not so much from who you are. But I think surrounding yourself with people, mentors, really helps.
Yes.
Right? Positive people really, really helps, because tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you, who you are. And it's very true,
Yeah.
How many times do we spend time with people who are like, oh man, don't worry about it. Like, we're good, or don't go to work, or no. And then we work with people that are like, no, you said you're going to do this. You get up and you go do it.
Yeah.
And I think with age, you learn more. Age really gives you that knowledge.
But I always say, I'm like, life gets better with age.
Yeah, sometimes. It all depends. I feel that when I was younger, I had it better, man. I didn't have to worry about things. I was like, I'm cool, right?
Yes.
Now I'm like, God, before I'm going to do something, before it was like, jump, boom. Before they say jump, I already jumped. Now it's like, I'm going to jump, and I'm like, hold on.
There's spikes on the bottom.
What is this for? Like, cautious, right?
Yes.
But it comes with the territory. But I'll still jump.
Yeah.
I'll still jump.
So even when we were talking about the happiness that business gives you, the purpose and the meaning, but what's the hardest thing about it throughout your whole experience? Maybe not now, because you probably solved a lot of issues along the way, a lot of problems, but maybe in the beginning phase, maybe in the middle phase, like what was probably the hardest, toughest thing about business?
Damn. For me, in my personal, it was not having an idea what a business was. Learning how to run a business is just like learning any other profession. You don't know nothing until you go through the hurdles and you fall many times, and then you get up and then you learn. I believe that some of the best businesses, you'll find out from people who have struggled. Some of these businesses out there, or like these big entrepreneurs, if you ask them how many times they failed, they'll tell you way more than anyone that has a very small, mediocre business. Why? Because they tried. In business, for me, I think it was the hardest part was obtaining the mindset. Everything else, I'll tell you, there was so many things. I mean, from when I started the business to now, I can talk about our hardest times right now, and it's just upscaling. Back then, it was like putting gas in my truck to go find work. Yeah. So, it's just those were very tough at the moment, and they're always going to keep appearing. And they're just always going to, if you keep, upscaling, you're going to have very tough moments.
Yeah. But the fact that you make the decision to like, I am willing to take more responsibility. Sure. I'm ready for the challenge. Because a lot of people are not ready for that.
You know what happens? I think, like, let's say you get into something. I guess you have to have that mentality, like saying, like, guess what? Right now, I have nothing. Right? I'm good. Or maybe I have everything. I'm gonna risk this. I'm gonna take that risk, and I'm gonna go on to that business or take that adventure, whatever I want to do. If it doesn't work out, I can come back to what I'm doing. All right? But I tried. I felt no problem. You know what? I can sleep at night.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is when you don't try. Let's say you saw it and you look at it and you're like, nah, I can't do it. I'm good right now.
Yeah.
You're going to come back later on, and it's that stuff will, at least it hunts me at night if I don't do it.
Yeah.
So, so it's that, when you have to have that in business. Yeah. But you know what? Maybe there are some people who are a lot different than myself. A friend of mine told me that I am more of a cascade kind of personality, like not cascade. I'm versatile, so I need to be all over the place to like be good.
Yeah.
I think that was a defect in myself, but I've learned to understand that's actually an asset. There's a lot of big companies out there who would want someone who can multitask, run different things at the same time, and I can do that.
Yes.
I actually perform a lot better.
Yeah.
But that's the mindset. That's the changing and understanding yourself, and not just hearing what everyone else says.
Yes.
And then you have the cascade personality that they start something, it has to come. They have to follow it to the end. Yeah. They cannot look left. They cannot look right. If they cannot finish that, they cannot move on.
Yeah.
And I envy those guys or those girls, whatever, you know, I envy them, but I can't do that, you know?
Yes.
So I need to be active in so many different things.
Same, brother. Because like, you know, it's all the big podcasts, right? Nowadays, they have a production crew.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I've learned when it comes to business is you need to be a well-diverse, multifaceted individual. So this is the thing. It's you and I here. Is there a production crew here? No. Who's doing the lighting? Me. Who's doing the cameras? Me. Who's doing the audio? Me. Who's in charge of all the production? Me. You have to be able to have the jobs of 10 people. Like you said, you're able to do this, you're able to do that, you're able to do that. That's a big asset because that solves a lot of problems. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if things go wrong, that's on me. Therefore, how am I going to capitalize and fix it and make it better?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that takes time, headaches, failures, losses, wins, like gains. It's this crazy process of business that is just like very fluctuating. But staying in the game is how you beat the game.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. Very right. You know, like, so you made a good point there. I think for 12 years or so, I did that. I mean, just doing everything. Like, I was versatile, so I can go and do multiple things. The only way I was able to change that in the business now is to find the people who can actually do that for me now.
Better.
Okay, better, exactly,
Yes.
better. But you know what? Something that really has helped in our business, I think any business needs this, is systems. Okay? If you want to talk about a business, I read this book, Michael Gerber, and basically he talks about, like, you know, the McDonald's, the franchise. It's, you don't want to run a franchise, but you want to create a business that is a franchise model that will run without you being there. That's a business. That's what you want. And it all depends on what type of business that you're doing. That's what you need to develop.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been developing for the last 4 or 5 years in our business.
And they say that if you don't have systems in your business, then you have a job.
Thank you. Okay,
You know
see,
what I mean?
we go back to the job.
Yes, exactly. And it's true though, because I remember when I first started my fitness and nutrition business, right? There was no systems involved. And what did that do for me? Cause stress. And it deteriorated me. Actually, it deteriorated my lifestyle. And then I had to put a pause and create systems to the point where it's like, oh, okay, things are scaling. Things are getting crazier. Things are getting better. Systems are in place. It's the same thing with media. It's the same thing with podcasting. It's the same thing with editing. It's the same thing with networking. There has to be systems in place. And if you don't have a system, it's not going to work. Yes. It just really won't work. But why do you think people don't take the time to learn systems?
It's an investment. It's a mindset. It's thinking that we can do it. Gerber says this too. You know, he's like, is the frustrated technician wants to become a boss. You know, most of the businesses, why do they start? You know, I mean, I can talk for the construction business. Why don't you start your own business? Because you're frustrated, your boss, because you think you're gonna go make more money, and probably you will. But guess what? If you're a slave to that business, you're gonna make a lot of money, but you don't have a life. You know, you don't have an exit plan. You don't have investments. You don't have, I mean, I don't believe in a 401k, but, you know, you don't have one of those. But, you know, you don't have anything. You just have a lot of, you have probably 10, 15 years of your younger years where you can really work. After that, you're going to have to be forced to work to maintain a lifestyle that most likely you already created for yourself. So that's what happens with all this, you know, people that start a business and don't create systems. Yeah. I did that for a long time, man, a long time. So, you know, I see a lot of companies nowadays in the painting business that are getting started. So we do presentations throughout the country. Yeah. And we share our story with companies who are getting into the business. And we see a lot of younger guys that are getting into the business. And one thing they always ask me, like, what can I do? You know, what do you recommend? And I said, man, before you go touch that brush, go look into what you need to do. How much it's going to cost you to run your business? What's your daily operation cost? What is it going to take you to do this? Do that before, because now you have a target. Yeah. Because if the minute you start with like, okay, how many gallons I need, you're starting with the wrong foot. And I think that's big. You know, we didn't have all this social media when we started. And so now we have so much tools to really raise that line. And you can open a podcast, you can go to YouTube, and do all these things and learn right away. Yeah. So if you want to have a business, look into your systems.
Yes.
Look into what it takes to run the business before you jump into it.
Mm-hmm. And I really want to get into the topic of competition. Yeah. McDonald's needs Burger King. Costco needs Target. Target needs Walmart.
They make you look good.
They make each other better in a way, though.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. So kind of how we were talking about off air, how your son is in the media space. And I said off air, what's hurting me passing along my knowledge when it comes to media and giving it to him? Because it's collaboration over competition at the end of the day. Right. But that's the funny thing. When me and your son do talk, we are collabing and we're making each other better. That's right. That's what businesses do also without them knowing it. Yes. Because what do you think all the commercials are there? The Burger King Big Mac. Oh, they stacked it even higher. The Burger King is like, we got to do something different. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's the whole point on that. So even with you, how do you look upon that within, I don't want to call it competition. I just want to call it people in your space. Mm-hmm. How do you go about that when it comes to looking, studying, seeing what they do? How could I capitalize that? So on and so forth.
So let me tell you, I used to be, so before I used to notice more what was going on with the competition. And it was more because I wasn't very comfortable with myself. Mm-hmm. I look at competition a little different. I think in our business, for me, I've heard this coach years ago. His name is Nick Mace. One thing I've learned from him is learn to dominate your area. Be the one that everyone is going to call, and everything is taken care of. So we built our brand. Anyone that knows us in the area knows that we are not cheap, that we're expensive, but you're not only gonna get a paint job, you're gonna get an experience that not anyone else in the area provides for you. So I look at it this way. You compare, you remember Payless, right? Yes. All right. So I like to make this comparison. So you have Payless and you have Nike.
Yes.
You know that most of these shoes get done they get built in the same factories, the same everything, but you're paying 3-4 times more for Nike, right? Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Their moat. They have such a big moat. It's the same thing with Apple. Yes. Apple's moat is so big that they can raise their prices, and guess what? Their customers are still gonna buy. Yes. Their moat is so powerful to the point where if you don't have an iPhone, are you okay? What's going on? Exactly. It's crazy, right?
But you create that demand. You create that. So how does it relate to competition? If you do that, you have no competition. Or you do have the competition, but you set the standards. You set the rules, and you want to be at that point. So I guess that's kind of our goal, is to set that tone. So how do we do that? The way we deliver things. Most painters won't even have an office. Most small businesses don't even have an office. They work off of home. Cool, I did that for a long time. Mm-hmm. But if I want my business to stand out, I want my client to come into my space, and I want him to see this is not the guy that's gonna show up and be like, okay, what color you want to paint it? Okay, yes, perfect. I go. Okay, yes. No, you come into our office. We sit down with you. Why is it that you want to paint? Why are you achieving? It's a look, it's a necessity. So it's the value that you give in. So by you doing that, you're not worried about your competition. Yes. They're worried about you. Yes. So that's how we're dealing with competition and on our own way. And I think it's paying off. We want to go after the very, very high-end projects. So we want everything that we own to show that. Yes. Let me show you one little thing. So you ever go buy a car, right? I saw that you drive a Tesla. Yes. There you go. Now I recently just went into a Tesla lounge.
They're very dangerous cars.
Right? But let me tell you this. So you go buy a Honda. You walk into a Honda dealership, and there's a couple couches here and there, and then there's not a lot to it. It's just they're like, here, buy a car. You're not spending a lot of money, just get out.
The dealership's tired and just trying to get you out.
You want to go buy a Lamborghini. You walk in there, the coffee is extremely good. The ambience is a completely different thing. Yeah. Well, guess what? You're walking in there knowing that you're going to spend money, but they're going to treat you good. It's the experience that you're getting.
They treat you royalty.
Yes. That's what we want to do in our business. We want to create that. the competition, if whoever ever wants to come in, we'll welcome you, but they won't touch that. So I guess
that's a good phrase, though. You know what I mean? The Lamborghinis of painting.
Why not? Yes. So I want to charge you what I want to charge you.
Yeah. So how do you even go about when it comes to like the charging aspect? Because I know people who are even starting at businesses, they're scared. Mm-hmm. They're scared when it comes to the compensation part of it, because they're natural givers. Like myself, I'm a natural giver. I always like to help people if they need help with on something. Right. If I can give them free game, I totally will. But when it comes to time and a lot of effort, and especially when it comes to something that I have invested so much on, when it comes to my knowledge, I want to be able to execute that and give you the right experience. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the compensation part, people are terrified of it. Yeah. They're like scared to I charge this much. Is that okay? Yeah. You know what I mean? So were you nervous in the beginning of that? Yeah.
God, I'm the worst at that point. I have a big heart. I've heard that. And, but you know what? Having my business partner, Jose, he's the guy that's like, no, why? So that's what I'm saying. Finding the right person, the person who's better at you for that reason. So he's like, no, you're crazy. So I'm like, yes, I'm crazy. Okay, let's do it. And he's like, we're going to do this. I'm like, let's do it.
Yes.
You know, and so we did. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you something. This is something that for many, many years I did not know. But someone who is someone who is in business. Before I get to this point, we belong to an association of painters, and the first time we went to one of these conferences, one thing that I've noticed and it stuck with me, that most of the successful business that were there were never painters. They own a business. They own a painting business. If they have a need, they will go take care of that.
Yes.
Okay? They'll find someone to take care of it. That really changed my mind, because you got to think like a businessman, not a painter.
Yeah.
If you were talking about painting. One of the things that you do now in business in order to, this is something that we're barely learning, job costing. You know what job costing is?
No. Define.
So job costing is basically a formula to come up with how much you should be charging. Involves your overhead, involves your labor or your the material and stuff and art things. Based on those numbers, it gives us what we should be charging. That was the most fair for you and everyone else. Because if you just go about like how much your neighbor is charging, his operation may be a lot lower.
Yeah.
Your operation's higher, so you're operating at a higher, level, but it's costing you more to do that. His operation is going to be lower, ours is higher. How do we come up with that job costing?
Yes.
And we've learned that through being exposed to bigger companies that, that run millions and millions of dollars. I'm like, how is it that you do it?
Yeah.
Simple equations, man. You put this here, put that there, and there it is.
So I've never heard it in that term, but I use that formula as well, because I create content for other people as well. So when people reach out to me Daniel, we need you physically to be here at this event and be able to be the camera guy and to be able to do all this stuff. And I was like, okay, well, how much time do I need to be there? How long and what do you want from me? Do you want pictures? Do you want video? Do you want short form content? Do you want long form content? I was like, because every time I click that button, it depreciates my camera.
Yeah.
And how long I'm going to be there for, I have to travel there too. Yeah. Not only do I have to travel, I have to go drive back home and I have to work.
Yes.
So it's a all day thing. It could possibly be 2 days. So there's a big formula that you kind of have to do. And then you give them that number and they're like,
yeah,
what? Why is it so?
How do you get to that?
Why is that so high? I'm like, you're asking for a lot.
Yeah.
And therefore I was like, do you want low quality or do you want the best experience?
That's right.
And why do you think they keep being reoccurring clients? Is because of what you give them, the experience.
No.
It's because I'm not just there to give them like show face and like, oh, get my money. It's not about that. It's like I'm leaving my mark on these people. You know what I mean? To the point where they know me and their family knows me. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey, for the next event, get that Daniel guy. Bring him back over here. You know what I mean?
I'll call Daniel guy. It's cool. I like him.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's leaving that mark everywhere you go,
And you do, I mean, in business, like in where we live, and this is a small town.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've learned not to burn bridges. You can't. We've done so many things for almost nothing. I think in a business, it has to be very well-rounded. Okay, so for example, if you're a business that it's growing and not showing some kind of care for the community, for your clients, for your personnel, for everyone else, you tend to not be seen as like attractive. You tend to not be like that. They're like, yeah, I think they're doing okay, but they're on their own little world. Mm-hmm. You kind of put yourself outside.
Yes.
So you gotta be part of your guys, your community. Like, this still has to feel like home. Yeah. And if you lose that, and it's very easy to lose that. Especially when you have over 20 some people, it's easy to lose that. But you have to have the constant personal talk, personal touch.
Yeah.
And so that's big in business. But going back to like the systems and the job costing, this is something that we don't know much about because we're not business savvy. But accountants use this formula.
Yes.
And so that's how we now in our travels, we met a painter that he has his major in accounting. Mm-hmm. So one day we're struggling and we're like, I don't know how to do this. So we're like, Oscar. We call Oscar. We had him in our podcast. And he's like, oh, yeah, man, let me tell you. You put this number, this is your percentage, this is that by your... So I'm like, that's how you do it? He's like, yeah. You know that it would have taken me months, years to go to school, learn these kind of things. And by networking, I think that's a big word when you're in business. How you're talking about collaboration? We call it networking. Mm-hmm. Okay? Yeah. When I can pick up the phone and call someone across the states and be like, hey, man, I'm having this issue. They'll be like, hey, do this, do that. Guess what? We're not direct competition. He knows that if he needs anything, he's going to call me and I'm going to call him back and we're going to take care of business. That's valuable. Yeah. That's extremely valuable for our business. And a lot of people don't take the time to do that. And nowadays, social media makes it so easy. Facebook has all these groups where you can, we have all these groups, communicate, and they're very useful. If you use them right, it's all these resources. Mm-hmm. So why not use them?
Yeah, like my network. It's also an example. One of my good brothers, my big brother. We're not family, but I refer him as a big brother. He called me, Daniel, I need you to take pictures of. I'm going to propose to my fiance.
Oh shit!
And I was like, bro, I'm out of town. But you know what I did? I called one of my good friends. I was like, he's actually better than me when it comes to the camera. He'll do it for you.
Nice.
And he did it. And he messaged one of my boys. He messaged me. He's like, bro, thank you, man. Like, I appreciate it. It's all good. I was like, bro, who's losing? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like there's enough bread for everybody. You know what I mean? That's why I hate the whole like, oh, it's all to myself and I'm not trying to share anything like that. You know what I mean? Because like when you're telling me that your son's in the content space and so on and so forth, I'm like, oh man, I would love to just give him that free game. Like whatever I know, pass that along so he can scale whatever he's doing.
That's right.
Why is that hurting me?
No.
Is it? How could that possibly hurt me? That's increasing my network and that's increasing because teaching makes me better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One day you're gonna need that door, and the door is gonna open for you. Yeah. That's all. And honestly, it works like that. Mm-hmm. It works very well like that in business. So networking, I think it's just extremely valuable. Yeah. You just have to be open-minded. And it comes down to the mindset. Yeah. Because we're so busy, like you said, like right now, right? So you have to go run around. There's gonna be a point where you're gonna have to have someone to go set up for you because you have to go do something else. You learn to understand the value of your time.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. That is big if you really understand that, because I will not go fix a screw unless I really want to, because guess what? I can have any of these guys and it's going to be cheaper for me to send any of them than to go myself.
Yes.
I'm not saying that, no, it's just understand the business wise. I am a lot more expensive than any of those guys.
Yes, agreed. And like it's also important for me to be able to do these because I have to understand what the job entails. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because like I was telling you off air, like me and my brother, we started this media agency together. So me teaching him and showing him the ropes to the point where he's going to be able to do these things too, where I don't need to be physically doing it because he's like, you know what? I figured out the system. I can do it easy. Because to me, it's not a headache. To me, it's fun creating. Putting all this stuff together, putting your angles, putting my angles, putting the audio, mixing it all together, creating is fun to me. It's like, it's a weird form of excitement for me of just putting something together, putting a project together, and then putting value out there to the world. You can't beat that.
Man, if you've done over 100 episodes, that's a lot, right?
And I've never missed a Monday. I posted an episode every Monday, and I say that on my, that's my whole, what is it called? If I missed a Monday, the whole thing was like, I have to pay somebody $3,000. That's the rule.
Okay,
you know what I mean? So I put it out there publicly. If I ever missed a Monday, then I would have to pay a random subscriber, a random fan, $3,000.
That's another thing in business, consistency, man.
Yeah.
Consistency is very important. You can do a lot of things one day, and then you take 2 days off. Guess what?
Yeah.
You know, you get this from training, from sports, because it teaches you. It teaches you to have discipline in a business, and in life. I think it's important to have discipline, you know, because that's what's going to carry you. It's not, you know, what happens that you can bring this big old load of sand, right? And guess what? If you can't bring another one, you're going to run out. But if you bring in 2 little pebbles every day, you're never going to run out, because it's that constant attention to it.
And there were times where I had tech issues. There were times where things crashed down, but I was like, what am I going to do to solve this problem?
Well, last week, right?
You know what I mean? It happens, bro, but like, you got to solve the issue. That's what entrepreneurs do. They're best at.
Yeah.
They are problem solvers, and they love it. You know what I mean?
I just heard that today. Yeah, you know, and it is so true. You know, every once in a while we get this conversation where it's funny because the girls are upstairs, and so we're like, oh, they're upstairs, right? So they're way up there of us. And every once in a while, like, we're like, so what's Juan doing here? I'm like, I'm just here, I'm working. And they're like, aren't you supposed to be out there? I'm like, no, what are you doing? I'm putting out fires. It's like, what do you mean? I'm like, yes, I'm doing my job today. They're like, what do you mean? Yeah, it's making those phone calls.
Yeah.
It's straightening things up. Is you know, we're going to do something. So everybody comes to you for an answer.
Yes.
Okay, and I have to be able to put everything aside and have that answer for them. And so it's a job, but we choose to do what we can.
Yeah.
Estimating. I hate estimating. And when I say hate, I hate estimating. So it's taken us a while. You know, we actually couldn't find someone. We tried to hire someone, and it didn't fit in our culture, because our culture is very special, right?
Yes.
So now we've been, you know, not creating, but we've been teaching Kevin. You know, he is my nephew, and he's also my business partner's son. So it's awesome that he can actually take on this role. But before he took on this role, he spent a couple of years out on the field with the guys, understanding what the job entails and everything. So now when he moves on to that, you know, to that position, I mean, he's well-rounded. So in the next year or so, I'm not going to touch, just like how I moved away from the brush, I'm going to go move away from the estimated part, you know? But that allows us to grow.
Yeah, man.
That allows me to be free. If I'm here 7 days a week trying to estimate jobs,
Yes.
I'm passing on some very good opportunities for our business.
Yes.
You know, so then again, it's grown, upscaling systems. You know, I don't care if you're a painter. I don't care if you're, I don't know, whatever.
Anything.
Right? Let's say you pick up cans on, you know,
Yeah.
on those events, right? I've seen people that make $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're business savvy, what are you gonna do with $1,000? Make him grow, man.
Make it grow.
Exactly.
And we were talking about that off air too, when people spend lavishly. And
Yes.
and that's the thing too, man, because when people do have businesses, like we were talking about that off air, they try to show off.
Yes.
I have a boat, I have a car, I have this, I have a Rollie, I have all these things. But there's no longevity there.
No.
And I feel like when you spend lavishly, because what is a business? The money gets also reinvested into the business to grow the business and scale it.
That's right.
But if you want a short business to, like, I call it a short nut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Quick, a little quickie. Okay, go ahead and do that. But you don't want sustainability.
That's,
You know what I mean? Because
right.
how you manage and how you grow your money, that brings you long term. And long term is Generational wealth.
And that's what exactly. And let's see, what we were saying earlier, like there's only like I've learned that there's kind of like a 1% of businesses that are trying to do that. The majority of small businesses, well, if you look at the graphics and the data, it's like, I forgot honestly, I forgot the percentage, but in the first 5 years, like I think it's like 50% of the businesses, crash. But these are small businesses. And why small businesses? Because we start our businesses and we're not ready for that. That's why it's such a small business that you're like, I'm just gonna start. Oh well, yeah. But did you ever took the time to maybe look at some videos and when we did our because we have to have a license to be a painting contractor.
Yeah.
When I did this back in 90, I wish. It was 2006. 2006, man, that makes me old.
You look like you're 35.
Oh, man, I'm a grandpa, so I'm old.
Mexican jeans.
Yeah, there you go, right? But they had us do so there's two parts of the exam. There's the trade part and there's the law. And so the trade, I knew how to paint, I knew everything. But then here comes the law. And now it's like, it's asking you about like accounting and how to manage this, where I can't even remember how exactly it went, but it was just telling you what would you do. Okay, once you make your money, what are you going to do with it? Well, guess what? Took me twice to pass that, and I barely passed it just by luck. And it's because we're not ready for that. We don't know nothing about, some people do, but the majority of us, like I said, a good 50, 80% of someone who's starting a business, a small business, does not know the principles. What do you need to know first?
Yes. They think all they have to do is make an Instagram account. Oh, I have a business, guys.
No, it doesn't work that way.
It's a big, long process, right?
And people don't talk much about not mentors, but coaches. I guess a business too can be an investment, or it is an investment actually. Why not invest in a coach? Why not invest in someone who can actually guide you? Yeah. Because that's so important. And nowadays, that's everywhere. There's a lot of people, and you got to choose the one that works with you and you can relate and stuff. Because a lot of people too that they say that they know, but they don't know much. But it's look for all these we have options.
Yes.
There's a lot of options. There's a lot of things out there. Look for them.
Yeah. And I was very blessed to have my coach when I was fighting to also be my mentor. Because he also runs a multimillionaire business. So he taught fighting very similar to business. He correlated the two. He's not no yes manning me. Is why I love him so much. He is critiquing every bit of me. The first time we ever worked together, you know what he told me? He was like, "You're a captain without a ship." He was like, "You're not in control." But he showed me how to be in control. So there are headaches, there are stresses, there are things that happen. There's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like, oh, do I want to deal with this right now? You got to figure out you got to be a natural problem solver.
Yes.
And yes, it's hard, but you also have to make that decision to be like, you know what, I'm ready for it. Let's go. Like, give me more. Like, what more do you have to bring to me? Because I can solve it. But he gave me the right critiques. He was not like, Daniel, you're doing amazing. You're doing great. I'm so proud of you. Is none of that. It's always like, that's good, but how can you make it better? Like, what about this? I don't really like that. Let's try this instead.
That pushes you.
Bro, makes me better because it's intimidating being near him. Very intimidating. And I'm not scared of a lot of people. I am really not. I am really not. He is the only person I am actually terrified of. And he's 60 something years old.
Yeah, we have to chew your butt.
But people like that, man, it's just like the right mentors, the right coaches, so essential.
Yeah.
And it's a good investment too. One of the best, probably.
Yes, one of the best. I don't think we're actually thinking about doing that. Yeah. But because of being in this association, we are surrounded by people who have multi-million-dollar businesses, and just like I said, we go have a beer and we get the knowledge right there. So we're lucky that we don't have to pay for it. But
Crazy,
at some point,
right?
I think we have to. Hey, but you know what though? Most of these guys that make $10-20 million in their businesses, they don't have one coach. They have multiple coaches.
Multiple for so many different avenues.
Yes. So it's like, and when you understand why they do it, you're like, that makes so much sense. You're gonna go start a business, or you're gonna start $1 million business, right?
Yeah.
And then it's gonna cost you probably $50,000 to get a coach that's gonna line you up and just follow this, and you're gonna be good, right?
Yes.
Do you think that makes sense? It makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
If not, you're gonna be struggling.
What's that ROI going to bring you back? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But people don't think
ROI.
like that. They see the number. They're like, I don't think this is, you know what? I'll figure it out.
Thank you.
I'll read the right book. It's like, man, work with somebody who is better than you
Yes.
and they could scale whatever you're doing. But the reason why you don't want to invest, it's also because you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And you're terrified.
You know what? That's very freaking true. Yeah. You talk about how, like, when you're raising your prices, that we were just there a couple months ago. I'm like, dude, I don't think so. And then Jose's like, yeah, we are. And I'm like,
Shout out to
he's
Jose.
like, go. So I'm like, yes. And you know what? It works. So
Yes.
now when he tells me something, I'm like, yes, sir, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, and so business again. Before we get into business, I think is you gotta understand what is the business. Are you capable of doing it? Just before that.
That's that
if you're
serious
already in
question.
the business, then find a group. Find someone who's gonna. So have you ever heard of BNI?
Sounds familiar.
So
Sounds familiar.
BNI is a local. It's local like organizations where they have from a lawyer to a painter, a
Yes.
plumber, and then
Yes.
you kind of it's like a networking.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one that people can join, and they have them for so many different aspects of any other businesses.
Yeah.
You know, you that's your networking. Guess what? Like you're probably gonna learn from that person something that you didn't know yesterday. Yeah. Okay, they're gonna put you in contact with people who may get you to where you need to get. Mm-hmm. So it's not that you're gonna have to pay and do these things. You gotta get away from the aspect of doing whatever it is that is in your business to actually creating a plan, working on it. You know, they say work on your business, not in your business, right? That's Gerber again. Damn. But you know what? I've never read a whole book in my life.
Really?
So I am horrible at reading.
Oh man,
Okay.
I was terrible at reading in the beginning of my life. Yeah, and then later, somebody asked me this yesterday because I had one of my little brother's friend was over at the house yesterday, and I have my whole podcast studio is books on the walls everywhere. And he asked me, he was like, how much did you pay for books? I said, in 1 year, I spent over $10,000 on books.
Wow.
But the ROI paid me back more.
Yes, sir.
Because I applied it. And that's the thing I tell people all the time. Like when young kids reach out to me and then DM me, they ask me specific questions. And they was like, Daniel, like, where do I start? And I say, read. I'm like, get the discipline and the action to be able to finish a book, but don't even just read, apply what you read.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like knowledge porn.
Yeah.
It's like, are you just doing it for your entertainment, but are you going to go apply it?
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Because that's the whole point with it.
There's so I listen to books.
Yeah.
So I till this day I'm ADD, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah, me
After
too.
20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I gotta go. Or I'm reading and my mind is going. So I drive a lot. So before it was like, oh, what am I listening to? Now,
Yeah.
if it's not a podcast, I kind of shift a lot now to the
Yeah.
podcast thing, or it's a book. The way we do our finances here, I got it from a book. So we copy that concept, we model it a little bit, but that's what we do.
Crazy,
So it's
right?
like, so why not, you know? Right now we have a lot of issues, and I was just listening to a book that's called Who, Not How, you know? And it's like, okay, I don't need to know how to do it. Who's going to do it for me?
Yes.
And so but see, it's the constant going. Like I could be right now and say to a lot of people, I can just be like, why do you have to work? You know what's funny? It's like, I always say, like, once we get to this point, I don't want to get up in the morning. Guess what? I get up I'm up. I cannot stay in bed.
Yeah.
I Sundays maybe, But Sundays I actually like to get up earlier because I feel that my day, I get to enjoy my day. So I get up and I go to work, even though I'm complaining sometimes, like, dude. But I'm happy. Once I get here, I'm like, let's do it, man. So I'm doing what I want to do. Yeah. But it took a lot of effort and a lot of discipline to get here. And even where we are in our business, we're not safe. We're very we're not, what's that word? We can be replaced any day. Okay? Let's say, I'm gone today, I can be replaced tomorrow. Yeah. You have a business and you go out of business, there's 2 other businesses that are just waiting to take your spot. Yeah. Okay, so at the end of the day, this is something that I love to do. And because I went from being a job to actually that I enjoy doing, I get to build it in a better way. I can actually enjoy doing it, and I'm living my life as I'm going. Sometimes we're so worried of the end result. Guess what? I heard this the other day, and it said that if things are not perfect, it's because it's not over yet. And it makes sense. Yeah. And it's never gonna be perfect.
Never. But you can make it better as you go. And I always tell people that. They're like, where do I start? I said, start. You already said the word. Just start and just make it. And I'm like, it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to have the perfect lighting. You're never going to have the best cameras. It's just start and improve it as you go. And that's the whole thing too about being replaced. I think that's why we show up all the time, is because we could lose it all tomorrow. And we were talking about that off air. You have to have that discipline. You have to have the consistency. And it's so weird when people can talk about it, but they're not really about it. You know what I mean? But it shows who really is. Yeah. You really get to see who really is about it.
That is right. It doesn't, you can talk. I mean, the more you talk, the less you do.
Yes.
I belong to some groups, and I stay out of it. Some people can start chatting and they chat for hours.
Via messaging? I can't do it.
Well, it's not chatting. It's like, these are like Facebook groups and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's helpful. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand. Where do you find this time to, like, I got work to do. I got things to do. And when it's just too much. Like, don't tell me how much you're doing in your business. Like, that's good, but I don't want to know how much you're making. I don't know that you took this trip. I don't know that I'm like, dude, this is, tell me, like, how do you manage to fix your ROI on something?
Yes.
Okay, that I'm interested. Like, okay, how can I do? Yeah, do I want to communicate with you? Yeah, how you doing, buddy? What's going on? But other than that, like, all these groups. So now I'm contradicting myself a little bit about on the Facebook, right? Because there are a lot of groups out there, but then they can get very like you really. It's just. How can I say? I think business, you either have it or you don't have it. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have it, you can actually go create it. Mm-hmm. Okay? Get a mentor. Mm-hmm. And if you're already in that business, freaking work more. No, so, God, you just made me think a lot about business today.
Yeah, brother. That's the whole point. That's the whole... like I was saying off air, that's the whole concept of this podcast, is to target business owners and entrepreneurs, because there's 2 types of people that I respect. It's businessmen and businesswomen, and parents, because I feel like those 2 are one of the most difficult things to do. Very. And I am no father. I'm not even close to it, but I look forward to being a father. But I know that's going to be very, very hard. But I like those. But I like that, because I feel like as men, we're supposed to do hard things. We're supposed to do difficult things, and then obviously make the process better, create a system to the point where it's like, oh, things are a little more simple. Things are a little bit better, more smoother. You know what I mean?
No, that is true. But then, people like us, we don't like comfort zone. So when things get smooth, we're going to go find something else to do, because we need to be uncomfortable, right? And that's the entrepreneur mentality. And it's just, so whoever is listening to this, you're having that issue, you're having those problems, it's normal.
Yes.
We're not unique.
And it's crazy too, because as we age, I think things will get, say, somewhat better, right? Like, there's still going to be issues. There's still going to be problems.
Yeah, of course.
But I feel like we're always going to be scratching and clawing at that next adventure. Like, man, what else could I accomplish? What else kind of milestone could I hit?
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's the whole point.
It just gives you, it gives you this feeling that you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know, and what I've learned, I think from that, I've been able to feel that feeling, but it's very hard to communicate and relate that to others.
Yeah.
So you got to learn to understand that you may not be popular with some other people. And a lot of people, I read this again, you know, I've listened to this again. It's like, you're not going to be popular because people, when you are getting higher and you talk about certain things, they see you different.
Yeah.
They want to have you at their level. It's not that they're envy or anything. It's just that it's not the normal for them. So you gotta be prepared to get out of that comfort zone. And you gotta, like you mentioned about, you know, the family vacation, you know, you missed it. Why did you miss it? Because you have goals. You have it, maybe not responsibilities. I know you could have gone, but you made a choice. And that choice is related to your responsibilities, your business, and what you're doing. So you might have mad a couple people, but you make that choice, and you're gonna keep making those choices. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They give up success because they don't want to make somebody else feel uncomfortable.
And I feel like my fight career was like that because I was married to the fight game. I said no a lot. Every time my friends were like, "Hey, let's go out," no.
Yeah.
Every time my family event, no. Every time it was like Thanksgiving. One time, my family went to vacation and I stayed behind. And my family's like, "You don't even have a fight. Why are you even training?" I got to get better. That's why. You know what I mean? Yeah. I stayed behind because I still got to get better.
Yeah.
Me playing, that's wasting time.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Me, in a way, lowering my stock. If I just use my 20s to mess around, waste time, so on and so forth. And we were saying that off air too. Like, I'm too old to waste time. And I also don't like the people who try to tell me those kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, to pretty like take it easy, relax, yada, yada, where they want me right there. And I'm like, look, I understand the mindset, how you want me to chill and you don't like me elevating so much. I don't know why that triggers you, but we are in different lanes, different paths, different frequencies. And I feel like that's the thing. Like, you and I are in a different lane, right? I see you, you're right here. Me, I'm right here. And I'm trying to look, but I'm trying to like, oh my God, learn from you.
I'm like,
but my thing is, bro, like, I get to learn from you, and that's the best thing about these two, right? We're having a conversation, and it's a phenomenal conversation. But you know what the best thing about it is? I get to take this home and re-listen to it because I have to edit it, right? I have to put it all together. And I'm like, I'm going to drive in my car when I go home, right? And I'm going to remember a lot of the things you said. But and then when I take this back, I'm like, man, that was a gem. And then I get to apply that into my life. But a lot of people, they don't think like that. They're not sponges. They are married to their idea and they stick to it. And they're like, I figured it out. I'm good.
Yeah.
You never establish, you never have it figured out. And I feel like if you walk like a sponge for the rest of your days, I think that's how you win at life.
You're right, man. See, you're way ahead of me, man. Let me tell you, because by the time you reach my age, you'll be completely over the hill than my point, you know. So that's how we see it. Yeah. But I get you though. I feel the same way. I'm like I said, I'm blessed enough to be involved in certain things now where I get to be that person. I was on a conference call yesterday, on a Zoom call, and this is a board, you know, and I'm listening to these, incredible, people that they, like I said, they're way up there, like, incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like this, just like listening, and when it's my time to speak, I'm speaking my mind, but at the same time, I'm like, are you okay with that? But little by little, I'm listening to that. That's the fear. And that's why we don't do it. Like, you know, just sometimes to do like a podcast. I have a good friend that's going to do a podcast with us on, not this Friday, but a couple other Fridays. And we were been talking to him. He's like, man, what am I supposed to do? Like, well, I'm like, dude, relax. All we need to do is just be ourselves. We're going to have a conversation. This is one of the first times that he's going to do it here. So he's going to be with us in the setting. But I still do. Like, you coming over here, I'm like, shoot. I'm like, man, I should have at least wore a different shirt. I'm like, it's got paint on it.
It's your brand.
And but you're still gonna have that. It's those chills, man. And then if you don't have those chills, then it's you're not doing the right thing, man.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple things that happens in our company now that really excite me. So I feel that we don't have to go and knock on doors anymore to get work. We haven't had to do that for a long time. There's so many things that our business is doing good now that I don't have to do all those things. I don't have to worry about where the job is coming from. Now what I gotta worry about is what really makes me, we're gonna have a party for our guys coming. We do 2 parties, but we're gonna have a party for our guys, and that's the stuff that really gets me happy. And that's the stuff that I really feel that if I can get these guys and show them my appreciation, because there's a lot of ways, I can give you money. So I know the book, the 5 languages of love.
Yes.
You ever read that one?
Yes.
What it teaches you is to understand that not everybody runs, or they're driven by money. We all have our love, and we gotta be able. We need to find that. It's, at least in the business, of course, not love, but it's like, what's your character? What drives you? Why you're here?
Yeah.
See, and so I know that for us putting this party together, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's like, this is the talk of the day, so it softens everything else.
Yes.
So that to me, that's where I feel that I am doing something and giving them back. How much money we made, I can open that thing and maybe I'm negative, but hey, but we're surviving.
Yes. But it's still like that appreciation still has to be shown, my man. You know what I mean? Because that's what keeps the team just this.
And understand that in business, I don't know, it depends what kind of business you do, but if you do have a team, they're the ones who are doing all the heavy lifting. So the minute you forget about the guys who are doing the heavy lifting, you're going to be in trouble.
It's over.
Yes.
It's over. It's game over.
So, it's very hard to stay humble too and when you start growing your business because,
Yeah.
Right?
That's the thing fighting taught me too. When I was winning, ego goes here, right? The attention, the lights, the cameras, the notoriety, so on and so forth. And I let it get to me. And then what happens when you get to me? You get your ass whooped in front of your family and friends.
Yes,
pretty bad.
Yeah.
And you get manhandled by another grown-ass man. Yeah. So even today, I'm very confident, but I don't know everything. I am never the smartest guy in the room. I am never the strongest guy in the room. I am never the fastest guy in the room. So therefore, now that I know that, I'm just going to show up every day. And I like being, like how I was saying here, I don't know your environment, but I brought my gear to you. I wanted to make it more convenient for you because I know you're a very busy man, but it makes me, when I'm driving here, I'm like, man, where's my setup going to be placed? How is everything going to look? What's the lighting going to be like? This, that. It's putting me in a very uncomfortable situation. But those things, it makes me excited because not only do I get to talk to a high level individual, but I'm also in his environment and I have to adapt to his environment, not mine. If you were to come to my studio, everything's already set. All I got to do is boom, let's go.
Right?
You know what I mean? But it's simple. I don't like simple. I like stuff that's hard. So if things are going to bring challenge to me and things are going to bring difficulty, man, bring more to me. Bring it for me, difficulty. Like say your son asks me a content question and I don't know about. I'm like, ooh, that's a good question. Brother, I actually don't know the answer to that question, but give me 2 days and I'm going to know it more than all these other articles that you look up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But see, that comes from fighting. You know, you have to study your opponent, and then that's true. But it applies, like you said, in business. Yeah. It applies on everything. It's just, I think, look, we're talking about business, but at the end of the day, it comes to personality. I think too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have the personality, you have it. I heard this from someone, in one of these events, and I remember that I was like, I couldn't show my face on camera. Like they were like, you need to start doing this. You need to start, showing your face, just a little video. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm like, I don't know. And then he's like, dude, he was like, you're a good looking man. I'll look at you. I'm like, okay, hold on. I'm like, but it's but it's you. You're like this. So little by little, I started breaking that. I started breaking that.
Yes.
Sitting in front of this mic before, you're like, my son will be like, Dad, can you stop saying I'm like, I'm working on it, dude.
Man, it's probably, bro. I still make grammatic errors.
Yeah.
I've had over 100 podcasts, right? And I still make mistakes, bro. That's the thing. It's like when I'm editing it, I get to see my mistakes, and I'm like, man, I'm still making a stupid mistake again.
So I gotta ask you this question. If you're telling me this, so you have no problem listening to the podcast yourself, listening to yourself back.
Not anymore, because remember we were talking about off air, like being comfortable with yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that there's like that thing where I don't even look at it like that, because how I see it, podcast is not about me, it's about the people.
Okay.
So when I'm editing myself, when I'm sequencing my clips, I don't care. Okay. I'm not looking at me like that. I'm just like, I have to get this podcast in order for them, not me. I'm just the guy who dictates the conversation. I'm just the guy who has a platform, and it's my job to dictate the conversation where it's going to go. Nah. So I have my lane, and I have to make it sure, but it's not about me. It's about the people.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So every time I'm editing, I have no problem. Like I see my mistakes, and I'm like, God damn it, you know what I mean? I'm just like, you idiot. But I never look at it like, God, dude, you sound stupid. I actually do say that sometimes, where I'm just like, that sentence made no sense. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? All the time. God. But I don't care anymore. Okay. I really don't care. Fighting, you're fighting in your underwear in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? It's the new age of the gladiator days. You don't have time to really care about what people think. You know what I mean? You really, really don't. And I feel like that's what's like beautiful of having a podcast. You're putting yourself in very vulnerable places. You're putting yourself out on the web. People can critique you. People can criticize you. But guess what? People like us, we are prepared for that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, winners, they don't have time to type on a keyboard and talk something negative about you. You think a successful businessman is going to shout out your website and be like, this guy's trash? You think he has time for that? The losers have time.
That's true.
Because they have nothing to do. But the winners, they're too busy.
Yes, sir.
They're way too busy.
Yeah, hey, I'm, I don't know that I'm a winner, but I'm busy, man.
He's being humble, ladies and gentlemen.
We're just talking about this. I get all these calls. I'm like, hey, I texted you. I'm like, sorry, man, I'm busy. Probably I wasn't. I didn't want to talk to them, but but I use it when I need it.
Yes.
No, but God, man, this is cool. Honestly, this is one of the coolest podcasts I've had in a while, man. I think I mean, what you're doing, it's amazing, and the energy you bring to this is just amazing.
Thank you.
It just makes people like me, the person who's on the other side, just you give us this just so calm and chill vibe that I'm like, dude, let's do this again, man. I'm like,
bro, honestly, I would love to do this
know?
again, because I know you still have so much more value to give. This is not a one and done, because I can see myself coming back here, because guess what? I got to interview Kevin.
No, that's right. There you go.
You know what I mean? I got to come back here again. You know what
Anytime,
I mean?
man.
And I have no problem doing so, brother. But hey, man, we hit way over an hour. So
Damn.
I want to be very, very respectful of your time. But my very, very last question.
Yes, sir.
For all the young, aspiring entrepreneurs out there who are wanting to get into the game of business, what is the lessons that you would like to pass on to them? That one specific lesson.
You know what that does? Now I gotta think about it when I ask that question. Yes. Put me on the spot. Dang it. Okay, I see. Now I gotta think of when I ask that. It's easy when we ask. And then I sit and then I'm like, whatever. And they're like, that's my, oh shoot. I guess everything that we talked about here is, if you want something, like, just go after it. I mean, it can be a business, it can be sports, it can be a lot of things. Just take the first step, okay? If we're talking about just going for it, right? Take the step. The minute you take the step, you're gonna realize what you need, okay? The minute you realize what you need, look at those things, prioritize, understand that this is going to take time, and this is going to take, it's not that it's going to take work, it's going to take dedication. So go for it, dedicate yourself, learn that you may have to say no to a couple of the things. You have to make changes in your life in order to pursue something that's worth it. Yeah. And if you're going to get something that is worth getting, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
If it's easy, then it's not worth it.
It ain't going to work.
Right? So keep that in mind. And after so many years and so many more things that we need to do, it was never busy. It was never easy. It's not easy. And I know it's only going to get harder from now on for me. So, and I welcome the challenge, man. So thank you so much for having me. And anyone out there, man, just go for it. Go for it.
Are there any closing statements for the podcast, my brother?
Nah, man. I mean, just thank you so much for having me, man. And if you guys don't know, go check out Los Pintores podcast, man.
Shameless plug.
Please.
So, my brother, all your links, I'm going to link everything to the description below. That way people can get a hold of you. So, brother, nothing but love and nothing but respect for you. And I cannot wait to do this again, my man.
Man, I'm with you.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank
you so much, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's episode. If you got a lot of value out of this, please do me a favor and support our channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Again, thank you all for the support. I'll see you next time. Stay loving, stay hungry, and stay excellent.